here today. I'm in Springfield, Oregon, and we have our Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum, who is you're in Portland, Oregon, yes?
Yes, I am. I'm at home in my living room.
Okay, great. So on Passover, but you're here before you're celebrating your Seder with your family to talk to us about civil rights. And one of the things that I love about there's 5 statewide elected officials in Oregon. In some other states, these positions are appointed, but we're elected, and you and I work very closely together because we both have jurisdiction to protect people's civil rights. And I love the fact that we work so closely together. So we're going to talk about some of the great work that you're doing, and then talk about an amazing recipe for a salad right after that. How about that?
I love it.
Great.
Thank you, Val. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I do love working with you. And who knows, maybe after this is all over, we can work together both in the kitchen and at work to do some fun things.
I love that idea. So you recently led an anti-discrimination call to action to stand with members of Oregon's Asian American community who've been targeted during this COVID-19 pandemic. So first of all, I want to thank you for leading that call. You know, I know we've seen an increase in discrimination complaints since this has all started. What have you seen in your office, and what led you to make this call for action?
Well, we are very proud that housed in our office now is the new hate crimes and bias incident hotline. What that means is I think we've actually done a pretty good job of getting the word out that it's available, and people are starting to call us. And we already were getting quite a few calls and following up on each and every one of them with a live, responsive, trauma-informed individual who can help people with what their needs are. If they suffer an incident that warrants reporting it to the district attorney, then so be it, we help them do that. But there's also other ways that we can help them to address the trauma and the humiliation and the damage that's done by any level of bias, incident, or hate crime. And we were hearing that this was going on right here in our communities, and we just weren't going to stand for it during this COVID crisis where people are suffering in so many ways. The last thing our trusted, our beloved neighbors, friends, co-workers who are Asian or who are a Pacific Islander, other people who are perceived to be Asian by members of the community were literally, in some cases, physically attacking, and others simply harassing and making awful comments to them. So we decided that we wanted to bring Oregonians together in a call to action, and that's what we did. And here's kind of what it looks like, although you can get it online. It's very easy to find, and I wanted to let your watchers and listeners know how to sign on to it, because we would like all of you to please join us in standing against hate and signing on to our call to action, as did, of course, Commissioner Hoyle and her civil rights director and anyone else out there. So here's what you need to do. standagainsthate.oregon.gov. Go to standagainsthate.oregon.gov. On the left-hand side, call to action button, and give us your name and email, and we will get you signed up. And then you'll also be on our list for people that we can contact to let you know about other activities of our civil rights section and our work that we're doing to push out the idea that hate is just not going to be tolerated in Oregon. I asked my civil rights director if she would provide me with a list of some of the incidents since the COVID crisis that have been reported to her, and it's pretty bad, Val.
Yeah, we've gotten hundreds and hundreds of calls of people who are being denied access to restaurants, to hotels, to, you know, just basic public services on the basis of their race or national origin, and that's illegal. And just like you, we're working to protect people in this time. These are very scary times, and many times people act out of fear, but the bottom line is this is a disease where we need to do social distancing, so we can utilize technology like this to talk to each other. But I think the key message is, number one, that and I know you agree with, we need to be kind, we need to be patient, and we need to not tolerate racism or discrimination in any form. A crisis is not an excuse to discriminate against people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it started with Chinese restaurants right here in our community. And then, of course, the restaurants, for the most part, are closed down, but there's still takeout. There's still a lot of cleaners that are owned by wonderful Asian families. There are so many businesses that have been affected by people and their fears and frankly, their racism. We have to make sure that that's not happening right here in our neighborhoods.
So what other actions has your office taken to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic? I know you're doing some great work on holding people accountable who are trying to scam vulnerable people in our community, or who are trying to jack up prices inappropriately. So,
well, yeah, absolutely. On the consumer protection side, we asked the governor to declare an abnormal disruption of the local economy here in our state, because I don't know if you tried to buy toilet paper or hand sanitizer or other items, just general but essential items, especially when you're trying to stay safe in a public health pandemic such as we're in the midst of. And so she was good enough to do that very quickly, and that then allowed our price gouging statute to go into effect. We have a statute, but it's actually inactive until the governor makes that declaration. She did that. We now also have a hotline for that. So we have two main hotlines at the Oregon Department of Justice, and I wanted to give people that number as well.
Now, are all of these numbers on your website? Is it Ellen?
They are, but let me just give this one to you. It's 503-278-8442.
Great.
And you can also go to oregonconsumer.gov, where all of our consumer materials are located. But we've received over 500 complaints of price gouging. We've issued about 25 cease and desist letters. And the good news is that most of the businesses that appear to be engaging in price gouging, which means that they've inflated their prices 15% or more above the previous prices when the emergency took effect, they've responded to us positively, and they've changed their practice. And so that's a good thing. The online problem is even greater because, we have less of an ability to really work with them. And so we've asked one of the things that we've done as a group of attorneys general is that we've asked the big companies like eBay and Amazon, and well, you know who they are, Craigslist, where people buy so much these days and even more now, to make sure that their sellers, because they have a lot of third-party sellers, that's how this whole thing works, that their sellers are not engaging in price gouging, and if they are, to take them down, and they've done that. So we're really pleased with the response that we've gotten there as well.
That is fantastic, and I think, like you, one of the things that is nice, and it's out of necessity, as we're spending more time at home, is we're doing more cooking at home. So that's one of the things I want to talk to you about is, as you're looking through your cupboards, right, we can find exciting things to cook. So I love, I like food, and I also like to see what other people make and eat, because, food tells so much about the person. And so you have a recipe that you're going to share with us. So why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, it's Passover, but I decided to order takeout for Passover, okay? So sorry about that. I hope you weren't expecting my brisket recipe.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that, just cooking for two right now, just my husband and myself. So what we did was we ordered the same exact order for my daughter. She'll come pick it up in a little while, take it over to her family across town, and then we have our order. But I wanted to make a couple of things, and especially when you asked me about recipes, that we could add to our takeout order. So what I've made is from the Allison Roman Nothing Fancy cookbook. I love Allison. She's kind of sassy. She's brilliant. And she loves anchovies. So don't worry, because if you don't like anchovies, just don't put them in the salad.
I like them.
I was drawn to her recipe because it kind of describes most of the ingredients. It's called lemony white beans and escarole with anchovy and Parmesan. And there's a picture of it. So it's just your basic salad. I know it's a fancy sounding salad, but you can put whatever you want in it. But what I loved is that I went to my cupboard and I was looking for what I already had. And I had several cans of white northern beans. And beans are so good for you. And I just love recipes that incorporate beans. So this one did that. So basically what it is you just kind of make a little stir fry of anchovies, capers, garlic, all these yummy things. Pour some olive oil and crushed pepper, and then you start adding the beans, and you cook them long enough so they don't taste like canned beans anymore. They're all garlicky and yummy. And then you actually pour half the salad greens, which in this case, I actually found some escarole and some radicchio, so kind of fancy names for some salad greens, and you put about half of it into the pan with those other ingredients I mentioned, and then you pour it all out on top of those you didn't heat up. So you have kind of a mix of crunchy and braised greens, and then you sprinkle on top of that Parmesan cheese, chopped up mint and parsley. And there you have it, voila, your salad.
That sounds amazing. That sounds incredible.
It's really good.
I hope that you have joy and health throughout the year, and you have a nice Passover virtually with your family. Thank you for social distancing, and thank you for what you're doing. And again, for putting forward this call to action that will allow all of us as Oregonians to step up and say, you know, we will not tolerate discrimination, and we'll take care of fellow Oregonians.
Thank you, Val. It's a pleasure to work with you, and thank you for letting me be on your show.
All right, anytime. Thanks for being my first guest. Take care. Bye.